Good morning, everyone. Welcome to a new Throwback Thursday video. Christmas is approaching, and so today we wanted to talk about how some of our modern Christmas traditions got started. Many of our traditions started in the Victorian era. Thistle Cottage is often decorated in Victorian style, especially at Christmas. The building is not Victorian, but it is close, and that style definitely influences our decisions. The Victorian era is considered to be 1837 to 1901, during the reign of Queen Victoria. Thistle Cottage was built in 1912, so it does miss that era by just a little bit. Technically, the building is part of the Edwardian period, which is sometimes considered 1901 to 1910 when Edward himself died, but is often extended until World War I, which started in 1914. So the building does fall in that time period. However, as I said, we are influenced by Victorian traditions in our decorations and our activities that we hold there often. So we thought that we would take a peek into that style for today's video. Prior to the Victorian era, Christmas elicited much smaller celebrations. Modern Christmas trees came into fashion during the Victorian period. Prince Albert, Victoria's husband, is credited with helping bring about this change. He was German-born, and Christmas trees are German in origin. In 1848, the Illustrated London News published a drawing of the royal family with their Christmas tree, and history was made. Other families began to replicate this and bring Christmas trees into their own homes. Obviously, this is a tradition that many of us still follow. Other house decorations were already in use, but they also became more pronounced and elaborate during the Victorian era. Another tradition that started during that time period is the exchanging of Christmas cards. Commercially designed and printed cards were cost prohibitive at first, so many, including the royal family, began making homemade cards and exchanging those. As technology improved, prices for cards and postage dropped, and by the 1880s, Christmas cards had become very popular. Another tradition is Christmas crackers. Those aren't as popular here, but they're still very, very popular in Britain. They were invented in 1848 by British candy maker Tom Smith as an innovative way to sell his wares. A Christmas cracker is a tube that two people can pull apart, and it is filled with small decorations, candies, jokes, and other things like that. Gift giving at Christmas was already traditional, but it didn't normally take place quite on the Christmas holiday. It traditionally took place closer to the New Year, but as Christmas celebrations increased in popularity and scope, that tradition of giving gifts shifted backwards to the Christmas holiday instead of New Year's. These gifts were often modest, things like candy, fruit, nuts, small handmade gifts, and they were typically hung on the branches of the Christmas tree once those became popular. As the gifts got larger, heavier, and more elaborate, they were often moved to the area under the tree instead of being hung on the branches, and of course that is where we typically place our gifts today. Family Christmas meals also already were celebrated since the Middle Ages, actually, but many of the dishes that we associate with Christmas feasts became popular during the reign of Queen Victoria, including roast turkey. Previously, beef, goose, and other meats were more common, but wealthy community members began to serve turkey instead in the 1800s, and the practice trickled down to the middle class as people realized the birds were a nice size for a family gathering. This became the most common dish served at a Christmas feast in Britain by the early 1900s, and it's still common here, along with ham, which we often eat here in the United States since we traditionally have turkey at Thanksgiving, which is only a month before Christmas, of course. But still, it's not uncommon to hear of the Christmas turkey. Caroling was also made more popular during the Victorian era. Many traditional carols that we still sing today actually came to life during that time period, including Jingle Bells, Away in a Manger, We Three Kings, and more. All three of those, to the best of our knowledge, were written in America in the latter half of the 1800s. Silent Night was also very popular during the time period, although it had been written a little bit earlier in 1818 in what is now Austria. And, of course, O Christmas Tree, or O Tannenbaum, as it is known in the traditional German. That one also became popular, along with the popularity of the trees themselves. That one did not originally refer to a Christmas tree, actually, but in the mid-1800s, that is what the song became associated with. The first major collection of Christmas carols was actually published in 1833, so just slightly before the Victorian era began. And one other example of how the Victorian era influenced our Christmas celebrations today is Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol, which was published in 1843. This was still early during the era. Many traditions had not yet become popular, but reading the book, you can see how many of our Christmas traditions were beginning to take hold and be celebrated at that time. Families held large festive gatherings, sang Christmas songs, and feasted upon special meals. There were no Christmas trees mentioned, though. That came about 5 years later. But it is a turkey that Ebenezer Scrooge sends to Bob Cratchit's family for their Christmas feast. During the scene shown to him by the Ghost of Christmas Present, they were eating goose. The book helped spread the practices that were becoming popular at Christmas celebrations in Britain to other areas around the globe, including, of course, America. And obviously, many aspects of our modern holiday festivities erupted out of those earlier Victorian-era celebrations. If you're interested in learning more about how the Victorian people celebrated Christmas, the BBC has suggestions for Victorian-style decorations, gifts, games, foods, and more at the link on your screen. We'll post the link in the video description as well, so you can find out more about how Victorians would have decorated and celebrated the Christmas holidays. Thank you for joining us for this dive into the background of some of our Christmas traditions. The holiday season is one of our favorite time periods at Thistle Cottage. We love to see the house decorated for the holidays, and we enjoy all of the fun activities that we're usually able to host. This year, of course, will be very different due to COVID-19, but we have put up some of our normal decorations anyway to help brighten the days of people who drive past the building, and ourselves. And previous year's decorations, including our annual Jubilee of Trees, can be seen on Facebook in the photo albums there. If you haven't seen them before, we highly recommend checking those out. We are eternally impressed by the creativity and skill of our community members as they decorate their trees every year. We also have many photos in our collection of community parades and other Christmas celebrations from years past, and we will be sharing a slideshow of some of those photos for our Throwback Thursday next week. Since next Thursday is Christmas Eve, we won't have a normal video on that day because we know many of our community members will likely be distracted with last-minute preparations and celebrations. However, we hope the photo slideshow will provide a bit of historical entertainment. And you never know whose photo might pop up at one of those parades from days gone by. Finally, we have a request for all of our viewers. Please send us photos of your holiday decorations this year. We'll create an online photo gallery on our Facebook page to highlight our county's beautiful celebrations and help everyone have an even brighter and more joyful holiday season. That's all for today. Have a great week and happy holidays!